Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Coffee with Tea. I'm your host, the amazing Tea Street. This right here, you've seen this mug. It's my emotional support coffee. Yep, this morning I needed it. Yep, I'm leaning on the coffee. Say what you want to say, but I'm leaning on the coffee this morning. Welcome to this edition of Coffee with Tea. Today's topic: don't skip the process of working in the waiting. I don't know about you, but I haven't always been the most patient person in the world. And so sometimes I get ahead of myself. And if things aren't happening as fast as my mind conceives things, because I'm an ADHD, and so my mind is always working and it goes real, real fast, I get tempted to jump through and skip the process and go from waiting to sabotage sometimes, if I'm being honest. I remember one time I was working for a program called Village to Child, and I was making no money. I had just gotten my son, Christopher. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to raise this boy on this little bit of change. How am I going to raise this boy on $42,000? I am not ready for this. And so I had a job offer come through. I was interviewing you. I was trying to get out of there. I thought it was where I was supposed to be until I got Christopher. And I was like, I can live off of this by myself because it's purpose. I can do this, but I can't raise him on this. And so I got ready to jump ship and I was talking to my mom. I said, Mom, I'm taking this next job. They're about to pay me $12,000 more than I'm making. That's the desperation speaking, y'all. It was desperation. And I was like, Mom, I cannot raise him on $42,000. I thought God told me to do this to get him. And God ain't made a way, Lord, Mom. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and jump ship. Good morning, Miss Brown. Good morning, Nisha. I appreciate you all being on. I'm about to jump ship. And my mom said something to me that day. And I know that now it's trite, but back in 2000 and what was it, 2003, it wasn't trite. My mom said, grow where you've been planted. I hear the Holy Spirit telling me that you're supposed to grow where you are currently planted. I was like, Mom, the Holy Spirit ain't feeding this boy. I'm over here trying to figure out how to make it do what it do. And she said, that's not your job, T. I don't think that it's time for you to move. I don't know why, but I'm not getting the sense that you're supposed to move in this season. So I trust my mom's. Even when I didn't trust my own hearing from the Holy Spirit, I trusted hers. So I sat still. And she said, while you're there, learn everything you're supposed to learn. Learn everything that you can learn while you're still at Village to Child. And so that year, I took it upon myself to learn how to budget. I took it upon myself. I wrote my first really big grant. I got like $450,000 grant. I had never written a grant that big. I'd written smaller grants, but nothing that big. I got my first big grant in that season while I was planted at Village to Child. And I just kept working. I'm going to keep working the process. I don't know why, but I'm going to grow where I'm planted right now. I did not know that less than a year and a half later, I would get the call to become the director of education for Mayor Coleman, and that it would not give me a $12,000 increase. It would almost triple my salary. But in the season, while I was waiting, I didn't just wait. I didn't just sit. I was working in the waiting. What comes from that? Surrender. The first thing you got to do while you're working in the waiting is you got to first just surrender. This is your waiting season. This ain't your movement season. This is your waiting season. And so you might as well just surrender to that. But while you're there, everybody will tell you T Street is a strategist. I'm always creating a plan. So while I was sitting in my surrender like waiting stage, I was strategizing. I was writing the plan for what I was going to do next. And when it came, how I was going to ready myself, I said, girl, whatever it's going to be, you're going to have to know how to do a budget. You're going to have to know how to write grants. You're going to have to know how to run something bigger. You're going to have to become a better supervisor. You're going to have to become, if you're going to the place that you want to go to while you're here, grow these skills. Grow these skills. I was like, okay, so I surrendered to it. But I didn't just surrender and wave a white flag. I was strategizing in my surrender. I was planning for my next. While I was there, I was sharpening my tools. My grant writing skills got so much better. I had a friend who was like editing my stuff, and literally from her, I was learning in the process of editing my grants, how to actually write an effective grant, which now I do in my sleep. But in that season, I was sharpening my tools. I was doing the things that I needed to do in that season. I was picking a skill. The skill I was going to sharpen was my grant writing skill. The skill I was going to sharpen is how to create a budget, how to work that budget, how to stick to it, and how to fundraise. Those are three skills, y'all, that I gained in that season, that year and a half of waiting. I was sharpening. I wasn't just sitting by like, I'm going to wait on God. I'm going to wait till it comes. No, I was working in the waiting. And that's what we all got to learn how to do. We got to sharpen our skills, surrender, and then strategize, sharpen our skills, serve where you are. Y'all, in that season, I started doing partnerships with people. We did a citywide youth step show at a club, raised a whole lot of money for all these youth organizations who were trying to survive, brought money into my organization. I was serving where I was. I said, just because I'm not where I want to be doesn't mean that I'm not called to serve where I am. I started picking up more service in the community. Admittedly, I wasn't serving in my church until my most recent church. I don't serve in church, and that's with the intent. I don't want to see dirty dishes in the kitchen. So I've always said, nope, I'm going to do my service in the community. I was doing more service in Village to Child. I was doing more service, bringing literally people who are now in my life for good. I met them in this season while I was serving where I was. And then finally, I stayed positioned for the promise of what was coming. You know, some folks say it like this. I used to hear, I think the first time I heard it was from Sam Gresham. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. I stayed positioned. Guess what? When doors open, if you standing there, you the first one in line. Remember when they used to sell tennis shoes and they would go on sale? The latest Jordan was going to drop. We would all be standing in line. I used to wait in line at nighttime trying to get my son to write the first pair in his size because they didn't last long. And so when the doors open, I had the first opportunity to snatch the shoe in the size that I needed before anybody else. Same thing when we would do like all night shopping, waiting on the doors to open for Black Friday. I would stand in line, me and my sister, in the middle of the night, waiting to be the first one so we could get that one item, to grab the biggest TV we could find, and those things. Stayed positioned for the promise of what was coming. I didn't get out of line. I didn't get out of what God had told me to do and standing still when he told my mother to tell me to grow where I was planted. I came to tell somebody this morning that guess what? You should be working in your waiting. Don't just sit by and expect all the things to happen for you. You should be, good morning. Good morning, Deaconess Wendy. Good morning, Mrs. Woods. I see you, Sister Woods. I just need to tell somebody this morning, whatever you do while you are in the waiting, don't stop working. Surrender, then strategize. Sharpen your tools. Serve where you are and stay positioned for the promise. I promise you, if you'll just stay patient in the waiting and work your waiting, don't just sit, do something in the process. I promise you, when you get to where you're supposed to be, you'll be uniquely ready for the spot where you are. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. I'm the amazing T Street, but there's absolutely positively nothing amazing in me that's not in each and every one of you. So don't just grow where you've been planted. Work in your waiting. Have an amazing day.